That decaf always has a different sound. Roger and Rafa are number 1 and 2 in the world, and they have split the majors for the year amongst themselves, leaving nothing for anyone else. It sounds like things are right back to the good old days, but Fedheads, we've got big problems, and we're going to talk about it in today's full episode of Coffee Break Tennis. Hit it, Mr. Go! That's good. Mr. Goat only agreed to do today's show if he could eat his lunch while we did the show. So I'm just going to give it to you straight, Fedheads. Things are not looking good. This is not what I predicted. But then again, who could predict the back? He's unfazed by my hissy fit. Who could have predicted the back? Let me give it to you straight, Fedheads. Here's the bad news. Pop it on the screen. 9,465 ranking points for Rafa Nadal. 7,505 for Roger Federer. Look at that. Alexander Zverev is over 3,000 points away from Roger. And then Andy Murray's ranking is going to continue to plummet for the rest of the year. He's going to lose about, I want to say about 3,000 points, so he'll be almost knocked out of the top 10. But hey, we don't care. Raw fans, Fedheads, all we care about is 1 and 2. And if Roger is going to somehow finish this year at number 1, which I predicted he would do before the back. So before the back, which has put me in a several days long depression. If you were wondering where I've been. Yes, me and the world's most interesting cat and our Federer mugs have been pretty much reined in. By the way, if you're down in Florida and you've been dealing with Hurricane Irma, our deepest condolences go out to you. His heart goes out to you as well, trust me. We've actually been here in Atlanta getting rained on. I'll play a little video for you guys of what it's been like the last couple days. Just non-stop rain here. And in no way am I trying to say that I have it anywhere near as bad as the people who are actually dealing with some serious hurricane problems. But it has not helped with the depression that me and Mr. Goat have felt since Roger had to leave the US Open.
I mean, that stuff sucked, you know. I mean, honestly, it was terrible.
So how is Roger going to get to number 1? Well, here's the complicated part. When we look at these schedules, so Rafa has 100 points to defend for the rest of the year. He lost to Victor Troitsky first round at Shanghai. That's 10 points to defend. 90 points to defend in Beijing, where he lost to Grigor Dimitrov in the quarterfinals. And here's what he's planning on playing for the rest of the year. Now, keep in mind, Fedheads, I want you to comment below. This is what I want you guys to talk about today, is do you really believe Rafa is going to play all these tournaments? Because he's got himself down to play 5 out of the last 7 weeks of the year. So Beijing, which is where he has the 90 points to defend. Shanghai, he's going to go to Switzerland. He's going to go to Paris, France. He's going to go to the World Tour Finals in London, where they take the top 8 players of the year. So look at these dates, October 2nd through 8th, October 8th through 15th. He gets a little break after Shanghai, October 23rd to 29th, so that's just 1 week. Then he goes straight to Paris, October 30th, November 5th. And then he gets 1 more week before the World Tour Finals start on November 12th. That's an opportunity for Rafa to pick up 4,400 points, since he already has the 100 from last year. Now, I'm not saying Rafa's going to win all those tournaments. In fact, I don't think that Rafa is going to play all of those tournaments. Last year, he had some indoor tournaments on the schedule. He played those 2, then he took the rest of the year off to rest up for the Aussie Open, which turned out to be a great idea. Now he's playing to lock down the year-end number 1, which I'm sure is pretty important to him. Plus, it would be nice to go into the Aussie Open as the number 1 seed. He doesn't need to win 4,500 points to do that. Especially when the only guy who can stop him is Roger. And here's Roger Federer's schedule. Shanghai, October 8th. But then he skips the next tournament, goes to Switzerland with a couple weeks of rest. Then after that, he's got 3 weeks of rest going into London for the World Tour Finals. So Roger only has 3,000 points that he can pick up to finish the year. Of course, when we look at the new rankings, Rafa is almost 2,000 points ahead of Roger. So even if Roger picks up all 3 of those tournaments, let's say he wins them all, that puts him 1,000, a little bit over 1,000 ahead of Rafa. So it's not looking good for us Fed heads, because Rafa really only needs to get about 1,200 points to lock down the #1 ranking. But historically, Rafa has really struggled. Look at last year's indoor season. He only picked up 100 points. So here are the questions for me and for you guys out there. Please comment below, subscribe, thumbs up, all that stuff. But comment below because I want to know, 1, do you guys think Rafa is really going to play all of these tournaments? And 2, is Roger going to get healthy enough to realistically have a shot at winning those 3 tournaments? I think the way he structured his schedule for the end of the year was with that in mind. That's why he's got 2 to 3 weeks in between the tournaments to get 100% recovered. I think he's really gunning for it here. Not necessarily to finish #1. I'm sure he wants to, but it's all about putting himself in a position to have the seeding, the 1-2 seed, for most of next year. He wants to hang on to that going into Wimbledon, right? If he has a bad Aussie Open, let's say he doesn't defend his title, let's say he goes to the quarterfinals like he did at the US Open, I personally think he'll do better than that. I think he has a shot to win it again if the courts are playing fast. But let's say worst case scenario, Roger goes to the quarterfinals, it's 360 points, something like that. He would lose almost 1,700, let's just say 1,500 to make it easier. That would take Roger down to 6,000 points as of right now, which would still put him at #2 in the world, but it could easily be chipped away if he doesn't defend at Indian Wells in Miami. Then all of a sudden, we're back at like a 6, 7, 8 seed going into Wimbledon. Roger wants to totally avoid this. So it's important to Roger to win those 3 tournaments, not necessarily to get ahead of Rafa and finish #1, but to have another shot at winning Wimbledon next year, getting into Wimbledon with a 1, 2, 3 seed. So comment below, what do you guys think? Is Rafa going to play all those tournaments, and is Roger going to be healthy enough to win those 3 tournaments? I know he might not guarantee to get the #1 spot, but it's possible. Like I said, last year Rafa was going to play these tournaments. He only played 2, canceled the rest of the year, only picked up 100 points. That won't be enough to cut it if Roger can win these 3 tournaments, or if Roger can just win, say, the World Tour Finals and get the 1,500 points, and then do well enough at the other 2 tournaments to just edge out in front of Rafa. I'm Matt Bradshaw for Coffee Break Tennis. He likes it better that way. I'm Matt Bradshaw for Coffee Break Tennis, brought to you by Crunchtime Coaching, a tennis player's ultimate resource, a tennis player's best friend. If what you want to do is win more tennis matches and have more fun on the tennis court, check us out. This YouTube channel is the home of Crunchtime Coaching, founded by Peter Freeman, one of the best tennis coaches in the world. If you want a tip on anything tennis, just browse through our channel. I guarantee you could find several tips on any tennis topic you can think of. It's also the home of Coffee Break Tennis. Thanks for tuning in with us guys today, and I'll see you again very soon. I think my Roger losing depression is finally gone. What do you think, Mr. Gubb? He thinks there's something more interesting on the other side of the desk. See you guys.